that wonderful.
It was the last major toy store chain, the one that outlasted the competition, the one that bought the competition. It was a haven for kids who want to play and for collectors who wanted to display. But over time, things changed. Competition began to take its toll. Big box stores and online shopping began to show the flaws of this toy store. Debt continued to rear its ugly head to finally where it reached its breaking point. It was only a matter of time. We didn't know when it would happen. We just knew it was going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Toonamp, and I am no longer a Toys R Us kid.
Before we get started, I publish content of questionable quality whenever. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Or subscribe anyway, I'm not picky. You can keep up with me on social media or ring that bell to be notified when a new video comes out. With that said, let's do this thing.
To be honest, I do not have a relationship with the Toys R Us store itself. The location of the stores have never been convenient to me. They've always been out of the way no matter where I lived. But there are some memories there. Most of my memories were the ones where my grandmother would give me or my sister $50 to spend on our birthdays. By the way, the present in a present in a present trick is only funny once. All the other times we are like, oh, we're doing this again. Ha 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 ha, Grandma. Anyway, after we got our $50 and any other money we get, my family would take a special trip to Toys R Us. We would usually get toys based on what our current toy obsession was at the time. One year I remember I got nothing but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Another year I believe I bought some video games. I believe one year I bought an NES game called Videomation. That was a mistake. But my very first memory I have going to a Toys R Us is going to the grand opening of the one in Lafayette, Indiana. Now, Toys R Us grand openings were something spectacular because they would have costume characters from your favorite TV shows to meet and greet. Now, I don't remember who all was there. I know Jeffrey and his family was there. Maybe a Cabbage Patch Kid, the Noid. I do know that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was there. It was basically a meet and greet with your favorite cartoon characters. I went back to the store maybe 25 years after it opened, and boy did the company forget about that store, because it never changed. Nowadays, when I visit Toys R Us, it's just window shopping and getting pissed that the kids these days have all the cool tech toys to help prepare them for the future, and we got stuck with a paddle with a ball attached to it. But most of the memories I have of Toys R Us is the commercials. Now, I don't remember any of the commercials before the I Don't Want to Grow Up era, and I think that is probably because of the jingle. It's so catchy, it makes you take notice. Nowadays, when I watch the commercials and see Jeffrey, I keep saying to myself, why didn't they finish the artwork on him beyond a stick figure? That is a stick figure. It's not as welcoming as the look I grew up with. So, am I heartbroken that Toys R Us is going under? Not really. Again, never had that much access to the store anywhere I lived, so I don't have many memories outside of the ones I mentioned. Am I concerned what will happen as a result of the store closing? Yes, very. I'll get to the reasons why that is, but let's talk about how we got here in the first place. Honestly, Toys R Us going under should not surprise anyone. They've had trouble for the last 2 decades, and they only prolonged the inevitable. The first sign of trouble was in 1998, when Walmart outsold Toys R Us in toy sales. Get used to hearing that phrase. We have to face the facts, and have been hinting at it throughout this entire video. Toys R Us is only in select communities. They said there are 810 Toys R Us and Baby R Us in America, so that is roughly around 16 stores for each state. Remember, that is not just Toys R Us. So 8 per state. Walmart has 5,358 stores in the US alone. Of course, they are going to outsell Toys R Us. Not to mention other stores like Target, who will take a bite from their profits. So in 2000, Toys R Us went back to the drawing board. They got a new main man, CEO. who was familiar with the toy biz since he worked in FAO Schwarz. His name was John Eller. He remodeled stores, included online shopping, and turned Jeffrey into a real giraffe. Did this work? No. In 2003, Toys R Us closed all of their Kids R Us clothing store, Imaginarium stores. Yeah, I never heard of them too, but apparently they sold educational toys. And Toys R Us closed 3 distribution centers. By then, the company as a whole net loss in the third quarter of 2003 was $38 million. This loss was double what was projected. In March of 2005, Toys R Us was sold to a group of investors, which included the KKR Group, Bain Capital, and Vornado Realty Trust. The price tag was $6.6 billion, plus assumption of debt. This acquisition would mean that after 27 years, Toys R Us would no longer be a publicly traded company. With a new look and new branding, Toys R Us was ready for a new start. 4 years later, toy competitor FAO Schwarz was bought by Toys R Us. 3 months later, KB Toys went out of business. Toys R Us came in and picked up the remains, the trademarks, website, and intellectual property rights. The stores were not included in this purchase. By this time, Toys R Us was billions of dollars in debt. In 2016, 360 Group bought FAO Schwarz from Toys R Us. But in 2010, Toys R Us tried once again to go public. However, in 2013, they changed their minds due to declining sales and withdraws their IPO. The fall of 2017, after closing their flagship store in 2015 and being saddled with $5 billion of long-term debt, Toys R Us filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They attempted to restructure in hopes that the 2017 Christmas season would boost toy sales. However, both Mattel and Hasbro has admitted that they sold twice as much toys at Walmart than they did through Toys R Us. Because they have more stores, dummy. Why would you drive an hour away just for toys when Walmart and other big box stores are right there? Anyway, the 2017 holiday season did not help as Toys R Us announced it will close all their stores in 2018. But Toonamp, you're a cartoon reviewer. Why are you looking at Toys R Us? Why? Why? You don't think this might have an effect on the cartoon or movie industry? Do you know how many shows are reliant on toy sales? A lot. We have to face the facts that most cartoons are toy ads in disguise, especially the preschool shows. There are whole toy aisles dedicated to nothing but Disney Junior toys. The Lion Guard, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Sophia the First, even Tangled the series. We all know action cartoons are reliant on toy sales, no matter how bad the cartoon is. Marvel's Spider-Man 2017. But what about the more popular shows that aren't for preschoolers or action cartoons? To be honest, cartoons like The Loud House, Steven Universe, Craig of the Creek, We Bare Bears, DuckTales, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and other shows should not be in trouble, because they don't really have toys for them outside of collectibles. On the other hand, fans of shows like My Little Pony, Transformers, Voltron, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and other shows that were created just to sell toys might have cause to be a little worried. Probably not much though. Here is why the worry though. Even though Hasbro and Mattel both said that they sold about $1 billion worth of toys at Walmart in 2017, the fact remains they did sell about $500 million worth of toys at Toys R Us. What will happen now that Toys R Us is closed? Well, we have to look at it a couple different ways. The less likely scenario is the toy companies will take a hit and won't make as much. I call that less likely because even though Toys R Us may not be there, the customer will most likely flock to a different store. Either a big box store, Amazon, or some other place that sells toys. And that's the most likely scenario. The toy companies will survive without Toys R Us. Well, most bigger toy companies anyway. Sad to say, most stores will not be able to handle the large inventory that Toys R Us has. So some toys will have to go by the wayside. This includes some of the bigger companies such as Lego. Toy companies are going to have to reevaluate what are their top and lowest selling toys and adjust accordingly. What this could mean is a less variety of toys for your favorite series. As the sharks from Shark Tank say, the toy aisle is a very competitive place where companies will fight for shelf space. The best sellers will be the ones who will get top priority. More than likely, those will be the bigger companies. This will leave the smaller companies very few options outside of online sales. So will this affect the animation industry? Possibly. It's all a wait and see. Things change. In fact, if we are to believe the rumors, then KB Toys are making a comeback this year, and Amazon might buy some of the brick and mortar Toys R Us stores to sell their wares. So there is hope. Now, to all of those who are complaining that they are taking your childhood away now that Toys R Us is gone, my childhood ended when I turned 18, maybe long before that even. Nothing will ever take the experiences that I had as a child away. Well, maybe some kind of disease, but anything is possible with illness. Yes, things that I grew up with are no longer there. TV series, amusement parks, Showbiz Pizza. By the way, I love how when I look for certain animatronics on the internet, I get Five Nights at Freddy's crap. While it's great to remember our childhood, I am reminded of a quote from a book, You Can't Go Home Again, by Thomas Wolfe. You can't go back home to your family, back home to your childhood, back home to your romantic love, back home to a young man's dreams of glory and of fame, back home to exile, to escape to Europe or some foreign land, back home to lyricism, to singing just for singing's sake, back home to aestheticism, to one's youthful idea of the artist and the all-sufficiency of art and beauty and love. Back home to the ivory tower, back home to places in the country, to the cottage of Bermuda, away from all the strife and conflict of the world. Back home to the father you have lost and have been looking for. Back home to someone who can help you, save you, ease the burden for you. Back home to the old forms and systems of things which seemed everlasting, but which are changing all the time. Back home to the escapes of time and memory. Thomas Wolfe. I'm not saying that it's wrong to remember things fondly from your childhood. It's just, you can never go back to the things you've done and the places you've been to in your childhood, because everything changes. Yes, some things may be there. Over the years, Toys R Us changed, unless it's the one in Lafayette, Indiana. It isn't what you remember it. Hold on to your past with fond memories. Learn from past mistakes. But don't forget to live in the present and look towards the future. The plan was to end the video with this, but after I got done writing this, some news came to me. I became aware of the Save Toys R Us GoFundMe campaign. From what I have read from this campaign is that CEO of MGA Entertainment, the producers of Little Tikes, Isaac Lauren, wants to raise $1 billion by May 28th, 2018 to buy some Toys R Us assets. Not all. This means that if this GoFundMe works, there's still a 50% chance that your store may not reopen. Lauren spent $200 million of his own money for this GoFundMe. Now he's looking for donations, but what that really means is he's wanting investors without a return of what they are investing in. That is outside of the GoFundMe perks. I've watched enough Shark Tank to know that a toy company that has had trouble for at least 15 years is probably not worth investing in. Plus, outside of purchasing a store, I don't see a plan of action. What are they going to do to ensure that this will not happen again? I asked this in the comments section of the GoFundMe, a comment section that is now no longer available, by the way. Don't tell me there isn't something fishy there. And I only got one reply. They said, this isn't about saving a business. This is about saving our children's dream castle. Boy, that is an awful reason. That isn't even about nostalgia. That was about where are our children going to see toys? Well, there's Walmart and Target and GameStop and Kmart and Myers and online shopping. Heck, I got most of my toys from Hills, and Hills isn't even around anymore. I'm all about saving jobs. I think that is more important than where the kids are going to get their toys. However, I worked jobs where there was always worry that, will we be open the next month? Or will we be closed down because of poor sales? There's always going to be that feeling now for those employed by Toys R Us. Because if they are not going to fix their main problem, accessibility, then more than likely we'll just end up in this mess again in 2 or 3 years. Now I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about Toys R Us closing? Do you think it will hurt the animation industry? Do you think the Save Toys R Us campaign is going to help? Do you think the Save Toys R Us campaign is going to work if it's successful? Or do you think this is just going to be another temporary band-aid that's not going to stop the inevitable? Let me know in the comments. I'm Toonamp. Thanks for watching.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
You'll get the best for so much less. You folks will put the lid.
If it's new and hot,
It's a toy they've got.
and the prices are hard to beat. I don't want to grow up. 'Cause if I did, you couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys.
It's the world's biggest toy, so let's go.
Here's a glove just for you, my Toys R Us kid. I'll show you how to field and run and hit like I did.